with that being said, let's jump into it real quick with the Shrine Bowl information and the draft. So you had Shrine Bowl practice all week, right? And then, of course, you had the game last night. Lo and behold, we had a Wisconsin boy show up and show out in Reiger. If I'm saying, is it Reiger or Reiger? You guys help me with the chat. He wasn't high on our board. I'll show you. He's still not extremely high on our board, but it's important to know who stood out in these All-Star games, because not that I care that much, but it's obvious that GMs and scouts, they care a lot about that. How do they rise to the occasion or don't rise to the occasion, right? With the lights on and all the scouts in house, there's something to be said for that, for sure. So everybody excited about him being a Wisconsin guy, obviously. So here we go. This was according to Chad Reuter over on NFL.com. All right. And here is what he had to say in terms of the players that stood out. We have 8 players. All right. 8 standouts on this list. First one is Shad Banks, linebacker out of UTSA. All right. His draft status, obviously, he's declared he's a senior. Performance, Banks was a special team standout early, recording stops on the first 2 kickoffs. Defensively, he showed elite lateral movement, slipping blocks to swallow ball carriers at the line and breaking up a key pass in the end zone. His injury history, Banks missed 2 games during the 2025 season due to an undisclosed minor injury, though he returned to finish the year at full strength. So obviously, seems like he's fairly healthy. He shined yesterday. Now, where did Shad Banks fall on our draft board? I'm going to explain how this works, okay, for those of you who are new to the draft board. On the far left, and I know it's hard for you guys to read this. Again, you can get closer to your screen, or you can find this over on patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, where we've got our draft board for all of you guys and gals to check out. So essentially what you've got, he's ranked 443rd, okay? You're going, how many prospects are on this board? We have 449 on the board, so he's toward the bottom. However, he flashed, so he gets the 5-point bonus. You'll notice this -5 right here. Low number wins on this board, all right? The consensus big board had him at 750. He was 395th graded linebacker according to PFF, and he was 523rd in the 2023 season, okay? So those numbers shake out with the 5-point bonus. His score is a 551. So am I interested in him? No, but we got to mention all these players that flashed, all 8 of these players, according to Chad Reuter, that really flashed. Next on the list, Dean Connors, running back out of Houston, okay? He was a senior as well. With his performance, he showed a versatile skill set with a great mix of power and quickness. He was effective as a pass catcher out of the backfield and scored the West's first touchdown with a sharp cutback move. Injury history, no significant injuries reported during his collegiate career. So you're talking about a guy who's healthy, right? And I see the super chat there, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll hit it at the end of this segment here, man. Thank you so much. So he's coming in at the 293 spot. There's a 1-spot placeholder there if you're wondering why it says 294 and I'm saying 293. So Dean Connors, 293 out of Houston, running back, obviously. In 2023, he was the 107th graded running back. 24, he dropped to 288. 25, he jumped back up to 158. He was 257 on the PFF big board. He was 370 on the consensus big board. You see the 5-point bonus, giving him a score of 231. So he's going to fall in here at the 293 spot. Again, running back Dean Connors out of Houston. Next, you got Garrett DiGiorgio, if I'm saying that correctly, offensive tackle out of UCLA. Another senior. Performance, a, quote, mauler in the run game. DiGiorgio solidified the right side of the line. While he may move to guard in the NFL due to his 32 3/4-inch arm length, his movement skills when pulling across the formation impressed scouts. Injury history, suffered a leg injury / muscle spasms during a game against Nebraska in November 25 that caused him to miss time, but he was able to return for the season finale. So no huge injury issues there, right? He falls in the 305th spot on our PTA big board. We've got him listed as a guard because of the arm length. That may change by the time we get to the draft and through the draft process. 318th in 2023 at his position, 117th in 2024, 130th in 25. PFF big board had him at 314. The consensus big board had him at 419. We've got him with a score of 240 after the 5-point bonus from the East-West Shrine game that he excelled at. So again, they've got him anywhere from 314 to 419. We're saying he's worthy of the 240th pick, although he's sitting in the 305th spot. That makes sense. So keep an eye on Garrett DiGiorgio if he ends up going to the combine and see how he measures out. Next, we got an Iowa kid. I know we got a lot of Iowa fans that watch the show along with Wisconsin Badger fans. How cool was it, the East-West Shrine game The offensive MVP was from Iowa. The defensive MVP was from Wisconsin. Pretty darn cool. Soder says the UCLA guy sounds like he's a Ryan clone. He really does, Soder. Really does. It's a great comp there, man. Mark Gronowski, quarterback from Iowa. He was the East-West Shrine Bowl offensive MVP. Obviously, he was a senior performance. He earned offensive MVP honors. The former South Dakota State star looked poised in the pocket, showing the ability to make throws on the move and delivering a key block to spring Dean Connors for a touchdown. We got a quarterback out there blocking. My God. Injury history: suffered a major injury, knee injury, an ACL in the 2021 FCS Spring National Championship game, which sidelined him for the entire 2021 fall season. He also dealt with a minor knee tweak in September of 2025, but did not miss significant time. So you got to really do your due diligence, do the homework on the knee injury that occurred back there in 2021. But based off how he played in this game, I'd say he's all right. Now, he gets an 8-point bonus because he won the MVP award. We'll do the same thing with the Senior Bowl, okay? So he falls in the 160 spot. So he's 160th on our board. Why? PFF grades: 23, he was 4th at his position. 24, he was 49th at his position. 25, he was 59th at his position. The PFF Big Board had him at 293. The Consensus Big Board had him at 311. We got an 8-point bonus as well. Guys, the grade we've got on him final is 135.2. What that's saying is he's worthy of the 135th pick. Although we've got him in the 160 spot, you'll see a differential the longer you get into the draft process and down the list here. But we've got him significantly higher than the Consensus Big Board and the PFF Big Board. If he's available with the 7th round pick, and I know nobody's overly excited about drafting a quarterback, but if he's available with like a 6th or a 7th round pick and we got a 135.2 grade on him, you can see how that'd be a great value pick. Who knows? Who knows, right? And he's a guy who's had success. Obviously, when the lights came on at the East-West Shrine game, and I want to be very, very clear, East-West Shrine is nowhere near the Senior Bowl. It's kind of the minor league version of the Senior Bowl, if you will, right? But it still matters. So I want to be clear there. I put a lot more stock in the Senior Bowl than obviously I do in the Shrine Bowl. But nonetheless, look out for Mark Gronowski throughout the rest of the process, the pro days, the combine. He may be one that starts to rise on the boards a little bit. We'll see if Consensus Big Board and them change their mind. If you're wondering, why do I have those numbers in early? That's why. What these guys will do on the Consensus Big Boards and everybody doing their big boards, all of a sudden you'll get the All-Star game and then you get the combine and they jump these guys up 100 spots. And it's like, I want to know how everybody felt about them at the end of the season. I don't want to know how they felt after all the hype train got going. Right? I want to know, how did we feel? College football wrapped up, into the season, fresh on everybody's mind. What did the tape show? What did they put out there during the college football season? And then we'll control the bonuses. We'll give bonuses for RAS and athletic build and profile, right? We'll give bonuses for the All-Star games. We'll give bonuses from Greg Cosell. Also, not in this board yet, we've got Daniel Jeremiah's top 50, but we don't have his entire list. We don't have Dane Brugler's entire list. We don't have all of Walter Football's entire list, which Walter Football is going to be replacing the 33rd team for us this year unless we decide to go a different route. Right now, that's the placeholder. That's going to adjust this list as well. So we get some late effect, but I wanted to make sure the Consensus Big Board, the PFF Big Board, all that information went in as early as possible so it's not as polluted with the hype train that comes along later. And again, you'll get that hype train with your DJs, with your Dane Bruglers, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's how we roll there. Again, look for Mark Gronowski to continue to rise. Now, here we go. Hopefully, I don't butcher the name. I heard people say Reiger. I heard people say Reiger. I'm going to say Reiger here. You guys let me know if I got it wrong. Mason Reiger, edge defender out of Wisconsin. How do you pronounce it? Somebody help me in the chat so I don't screw it up anymore, okay? Edge defender out of Wisconsin. He was your defensive MVP. He was a senior as well. Performance, he was named the game's defensive MVP after a dominant 3-sack performance. All right. He's closing speed was the story of the night as he consistently beat tackles and forced a strip sack in the third quarter. Guys, 3 sacks during an All-Star game? Man, that's something, right? So it is Reiger. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate you, buddy. That's what I wanted to say initially, and somebody said, no, it's Reiger. So appreciate you, man. So Mason Reiger here, 3 sacks on the day. Now, you hear that and go, oh, this dude might be a stud, right? Look at where he's on our board, though, where it's not like he's toward the top, right? We've got him sitting in the 210 spot, all right? He was the 89th at his position, edge defender in 23. We did not have a score for him in 24. I don't know if he was hurt that year or what. Actually, let's fall back. That's probably what we got right here. Injury history. Missed the entire 2024 season following the knee injury. All right. During his rehab in early 2025, he underwent a follow-up procedure to have a metal rod inserted into his shin to aid recovery before returning for the 25 season. So this dude's tougher than nails, but he's got a metal rod in his leg too. We got to be aware of that, right? That's something that's definitely not going to help his stock. But with Mason Reiger, you have got 89 in this position, no grade in 24 because of the knee injury, and then he got better in 25, ranking 64th at the edge position amongst all other college football players. And that includes over 400 teams, by the way, okay? 244th on the PFF big board. He was 329 on the consensus big board. He got an 8-point bonus for getting defensive MVP. So his grade comes at a 173.5. So he's worthy of the 173rd pick. However, he's sitting in the 210 spot on our big board. That's one to watch for. Late round guy. Now, do you need another edge defender? Well, if you move on from Rashawn Gary and you move on from Kingsley Enagbare, I could justify making a pick like this late in the draft, right? I would be okay with that. Now, again, Mike Berry, you knucklehead. Again, the injury is going to matter, right? Like we got to know exactly, get your doctor's hands on that knee and see, all right, is that rod? What do we got here? Go through you may just kind of try to request his injury information, right? The surgery, how everything went, stuff like that. Mike Berry says, go rusty undercarriage. As you guys know, rusty undercarriage is on this list somewhere. I moved him around a little bit so you guys can go find him again. If you're wondering who rusty undercarriage is, he's a long snapper from Fart Box Technical College. So you guys can go find him here. So again, Mason Reiger in the 210 spot. Wisconsin guy. Love to see it. Next on the list, Eric Rivers, wide receiver / kick returner from Georgia Tech. Despite not being the largest receiver, Rivers was the most reliable target on the field. He showcased strong hands and blazer speed, particularly on the game-winning drive as a kick returner. Injury history. He missed the 22 season at Memphis due to a torn labrum in his shoulder. He also missed the 25 spring session at Georgia Tech while recovering from an injury to his other shoulder. So we got shoulder issues there, something to monitor, right? He's currently in the 150 spot on our PTA big board. Positional rankings starting in 23, 619, 29, then drops back to 211. He's 128 on the PFF big board, 157 on the consensus big board. We got a 126.3 grade on him. He's sitting in the 150 spot for us there. All right. So again, that is Eric Rivers, wide receiver / kick returner out of Georgia Tech. And then you got Trey Smack. We got our first kicker here. Chad Reuter said he made the play of the night for the specials with a 57-yard field goal that had plenty of distance and height. He also showed his athleticism by making a solo tackle on a kickoff return. Injury history, he missed the first half of his freshman season in 22 due to an undisclosed injury. When we put this information in, guys, going by offensive PFF grade, all right, for kickers, he was 32nd at his position. He's 290 on the consensus big board. The PFF big board did not have him on the board. We give him the 5-point bonus. His grade is a 156. All right. That puts him at 187 on our big board. This may end up being one of, if not the top kickers taken if one is drafted. Now, people hearing my voice, yeah, Joseph got all excited. He said, we didn't even have to super chat when we got kicker talk. Yes, sir. So here's the problem with this, guys. If I were to say, do you draft a kicker? There's going to be people go, you've lost your damn mind. Right. But most of those are the same people that are upset when we have kickers miss kicks, when we have special teams gaps, specifically from the kicker position. It's like we don't want to allocate resources to fixing the position, but we want to complain and act like there's an easy fix to it. Right now, let's see what the chat says. Jen says draft him already. Right now, here's the problem, Jen. If we draft him, I'm trying to think, who was the guy that the 49ers drafted a few years ago? If you guys will remember, they drafted a kicker and he fell flat on his face. Trying to think of who it was. Was it what Moody was it? What Bay? Anyway, you can swing and miss on these. Yeah, Moody, there it is. So I guess I did get it right. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you use a draft pick on one, it's not just so much, oh crap, we missed on him. Oh, well, let's move on. But we know how these GMs are. If you draft one and he struggles in year one, well, maybe he'll put it together in year two. Maybe he'll put it together in year three. And we're going through this constant problem. Go get me a veteran kicker, the best on the market, right? Now, maybe that ends up being Brandon McManus. I know people hate to hear that. Guys, his first year in Green Bay, 95% field goal percentage. Last year, it dipped all the way down to 80, I think. You know, what are you going to get next year with McManus? If you move on from McManus, there's a realistic chance that McManus ends up going to another team and goes back to that 95%. And then what if we're stuck with a rookie that's struggling like Carlson, you know? So it's tough, man. I just want to point out that, yeah, he sits there in the 186 spot on or 187 spot on our board as it sits right now, he being Trey Smack out of Florida. But, man, those guys can struggle once they hit the league. And I think this is the last one. Yeah, last one here. Wesley Williams, edge defender from Duke. Performance, he proved his versatility by defending the run just as effectively as the pass. He thwarted a screen pass on the final play of the first quarter with his elite hustle. He earned multiple pressures from both the edge and interior positions. Kind of sound like a little Baron Sorrell kicking inside, right? Capped his night with a strip sack in the end zone that resulted in a touchdown. So had a pretty good night there. Injury history, no major football-related injuries reported during his time at Duke. He's in the 347 spot on our big board, mainly because his PFF rankings at his position. The consensus big board had him at 260. We gave him the 5-point bonus. He has a 272 grade. So even though he's that far down, he is worthy of 272nd on our board in terms of the grade. Again, that is Wesley Williams, edge defender out of Duke. So those are your players that flashed according to Chad Reuter, and a little extra breakdown. Again, shout out to Reiger out of Wisconsin, obviously having a great game there at the edge spot, and then Gronowski, quarterback out of Iowa. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about these players? Are they rising on boards with how they played at the Shrine Bowl? Is there somebody on that list you'd like to draft? Do you think that's realistic where we've got them ranked on our board? We want to hear from you. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so we see you in here in the future.